Hello, I'm Alex Gill with Anime on Location, and we're here at Ohayocon 2012 with Toshifumi Yoshida. Um, Now, you have been around in the anime industry since it really started to bud and grow in the United States. What has it been like seeing it from essentially its inception here in the States to what it is now?
It's destruction, you mean? Well, starting from the early days, mid '80s, the Baycons, and even before the very first AnimeCon '91, which was followed up by Anime Expo that started back in '92. I've seen the industry go from this really small niche market thing that a couple of people would get together at sci-fi conventions, get a room, and show Japanese cartoons, in a little room, and that was it. And then it got to the point where the interest on that got bigger and bigger, to the point where it started getting more and more mainstream. So I've been there from the beginning since I became a fan myself back in between '84 and '86, and I was telling a group of people on a panel this morning how it got started was when I saw Star Blazers and Voltron, and I said, you know what, this is like stuff I saw when I was in elementary school in Japan. So there must be something newer. So I asked my parents to bring me back animation tapes, and they brought me back 4 titles, and at the time they blew my mind, and still some of them really stand up. One was Lensman. Not the best title when you look at it now, but when you were looking at the first season of Star Blazers, the animation quality in that was amazing. And then another tape was Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind, Macross, Do You Remember Love, and Final Yamato. And of course, like I said, I was watching the first season of Star Blazers, and I get the animation quality getting Final Yamato. It just blew my mind, and it hooked me. I mean, I had no interest in really watching animation. I mean, I was a big manga fan all my life, but it made me go seek out more. And look at me now. I mean, one of the things I always said in a previous interview, I'm sure, my mother always said, you'll never make a living watching cartoons and reading comic books. Well, look at me now. So yeah, I mean, I've seen it grow from that to eventually becoming mainstream. I mean, the first AnimeCon had 1,200 people, and that was a success. And now we're seeing numbers like 20,000 plus for Otakon, and maybe even closer to 30 for Expo, if not more. I haven't really looked at the last few numbers.
Hit 30K last year, I think, and I think AX. I've heard it's gone as high as 60, but I'm not entirely.
Depends how many times you count that person. Do you count them every day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or is it just once? Still, I mean, 1,200 people to tens of thousands is amazing. So to see it growing in interest, but to see the industry kind of falling apart, companies going out of business, it's a really strange time. I mean, there's an anime convention somewhere in the United States every weekend of the year, practically. Maybe not Thanksgiving or Christmas, but, I'm sure some con will try to do it. Like, Canadian convention, they did Thanksgiving weekend, U.S. Thanksgiving weekend, because they had theirs like a month before. So, yeah, it's strange things are afoot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Now, it says you're a producer and a translator. How did you get into this kind of work, and what kind of experiences have you had?
I'm sorry. It's hard to concentrate when esteemed guests like Amanda Winley are making lewd gestures behind the camera. But I love her dearly. Yeah. Ooh, pink. Sorry, I get distracted easily. Yes, distracted by shiny objects. Yes. Yeah, I got started, like I said, when the tapes brought me into pursue, my interest in animation, because those 4 tapes just changed the world. I went and looked for more, and I found people with like interests, And at the time, the only source of real information in the United States, or one of the major sources, was a newsletter that the Cartoon Fantasy Organization, CFO, used to publish every 3 months or so. And it was 10 pages of Xeroxed paper that they would put together with this, pencil, quality cover art, and they charged $3 for it. And we said, you know what, for $3 we could probably publish, lay out a magazine and put a color cover on it, and that basically was the starting point for Animag, one of the first semi-professional, professional magazines about Japanese animation to come out in the United States, and I was one of the founding members there. And that lasted for about 5 years, to the point where Viz approached us and said, hey, we're thinking of doing a Japanese animation magazine. Do you know anyone that could help us do it? And I said, you know what? I think there's a whole staff that you could hire from. And that's where Trish Ledoux, my then girlfriend, now wife, got the start for doing working for Viz Communications, now Viz Media. And about a year after that started, they came to me again and said, hey, we're thinking of starting a video department. Do you know anybody that might be interested in doing that? And the whole time, I was in the industry working on the magazines. I was getting some translation jobs for the new fledgling anime companies like U.S. Renditions. I'd gotten a start there as a translator, so when the opportunity came up to become a producer for a new experiment in releasing dubbed anime, I was eager to take on that challenge, and there began my 12 years of work at Viz, working on shows like Ranma 1/2, Inuyasha, and pretty much every series that Viz released up until the end of Inuyasha, when Trish and I left Viz. So, yeah, that was the beginnings of it all.
Well, you've talked about your experiences at working with Viz. What were your experiences working with Vonda Entertainment? And I know that's a hot topic right now, but
yeah, thankfully, after going around in the freelance market for a couple of years, in between Viz and Bandai, I did a lot of manga translations for like Del Rey and whatnot. But manga translations in between taking care of our newborn, and wasn't exactly the glamorous life. It's a great life. Children changes your life. It's great. But I missed being in studio, working with actors. So when the opportunity came up to go down to Southern California to join the Vonda Entertainment crew, I jumped at that opportunity. I got to work on a great show called, Gren Lagann. It was one of those interesting turn of events that Gren Lagann's rights had originally gone to ADV. They even, I think, did the first few episodes or something. And then something happened, and the rights got picked up by Bandai. So I got there, and they say, hey, welcome to Vonda Entertainment. You know what you're doing. Here's Gren Lagann. You're 3 months behind schedule. Go. And I got the series out pretty quickly. It was subtitled only initially. Then we eventually released a dub version, and we did special editions. And that's one of the special edition box we did for the Bandai's first release of Gren Lagann. Love that box. Yeah. I spent so much time, that opens up with a magnetic latch and looks like the hatch of the Lagann. Gren? Which one? Lagann?
Lagann's the small one.
Small, okay. Yeah. Then Gurren is the face that the cockpit opens up and closes on. And I got the light-up drill accessory that went into it. That was a lot of work, but it was great. It's I think of all the packaging I've ever worked on, that's one of my proudest ones. But unfortunately, the U.S. video market started crashing then. Best Buy changed their policy about how many copies of a DVD had to sell before they would pull it off of their inventory list. And when many brand new releases wasn't keeping up with those hired numbers, Best Buy's anime section started decreasing. It used to be rows and rows, and it got down to less than a couple of shelves.
It's not even a shelf where we live. It's like a quarter of a shelf.
Right. So the industry changed, and Bandai went through a massive cut, and I didn't quite make the cut. I mean, were nice enough to continue my contract to do a little bit more work, but when that ended, I was looking for more work. And the most recent news is that beginning of this month, Bandai even announced further cuts to the point where they're no longer going to be releasing new titles and getting out of the anime releasing gig. They'll exist as a licensing entity, but the people who were left at the company, good friends that I've known since the U.S. renditions LA Hero days, are now having to look for work. And like I said, interest seems to be growing. The attendance at Ohayocon is, 13,000 or something I heard? But anime companies are going out of business. That's just so wrong. But it's just the state of the industry right now.
What advice do you have for anyone who wants to get into the manga and anime industry, especially at this point in time?
I know you got to script it all, but after what I just said, do you think there is a manga and anime industry to get into? We're just hanging on with what little work we got left. You're trying to get in now? That bus is long gone. I'm just giving you a hard time, really. But yeah, hey, if you can find a foothold in what's left of this industry, hang on. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure, the existing voice actors now, are willing to give up the few parts they get now so that you could have a crack at it, and translators would just be willing to give up a book or two to give a new fledgling translators a shot. The whole business model has to change. The industry has to change. I mean, I think fandom will continue to exist and flourish. That's great. I just wish industry can adapt and change to the point where people can look for possible jobs in this industry. But you know what? Stay in school, kids. You don't want to work and try to do what we do. There's not a whole lot left.
All right. Are there any other projects that you have going on that you want to share with us?
Well, yeah, one of the things that I'm very thankful for is my current job. Although when you start working for a big corporate entity, they have rules, and one of the rules is that I can't talk about what I do. But in the sense that I can't represent the company. So anything I say is not the...
It's not affiliated with
yeah. I'm here as an anime producer who's been working in the industry for 20-odd years. Wow, 20-odd years. Yes, I'm old. Thank you, honey. So my current job right now is I work for the Pokemon Company International. I am the producer to localize the Japanese episodes into English and 23 other languages across Europe and Latin America that I don't speak. I have people who speak those languages that do those for me, and I'm told they're good. But I make sure that the English version that most of it is based on is as accurate and to a true to brand as it can be. Yes, I speak corporate speaks now. I see all the humanoid Pokemon running around downstairs, and my mind is going, I didn't see them? Brand does not approve. Yes, I say that a lot. Brand does not approve. So, but yeah, I mean, it's great to see such a strong brand. I mean, when I was at Viz, I authored the first season of Pokemon on DVD. And I find myself 13, 15 years later working for that company. And it's a Saturday morning. It's turned into a Saturday morning cartoon. So it's not really treated as anime. And I don't have to worry about how many DVDs of it I'm going to have to sell. I just create a product to support the three pillars, the trading card game, the video game, and the TV animation, and I'm part of a great organization to support the brand. So, having this opportunity now is great. I just can't say much more than that because I don't officially represent the company at this convention. We have a whole PR department for that. But yeah, even in this collapsing industry, I'm still doing what I love to do, and yay, I have work. It's stable. Knock on wood.
All right. Any final thoughts? Any words that you want to send out to the fans and people who are watching that love this stuff as much as you and I do?
Keep supporting what you love. When the industry pulls itself out of the ashes, again, support it. You know, when it doesn't get support from the fans, it falls apart. I mean, Japanese anime fans will go and buy 10 copies of the same CD so that their favorite anime opening song could be at the top of the Billboard charts or the Oricon charts. If anime fans in the United States would show that level of devotion to the works that the U.S. industry produces, we wouldn't be in the current shape we are now. But I'm sure something will come out of the ashes, like I said, and there'll be some kind of anime industry will continue in a digital format or whatever. If you love it to the point where you're making costumes, coming out to these conventions, spending your several months of money you saved up, show some of that love and your support to the industry. And I'd like to see conventions like this go on for years to come.